All right, guys. Am I audible to all of you? As the voice is loud and clear? Sorry for being late today. We can start the session directly. I hope all of you are, yeah, almost all the regular attendees have joined. I can see 320. Yeah, 325 of you are here. So, yeah, we'll start the session. Right. Okay. So today we'll be focusing on handling questions related to the leadership in crisis situation. We discussed this already in different contexts. So crisis situation, immediate decision need to be taken, where you need to reflect your leadership skills and everything. So we have already discussed, and you need to show certain qualities like especially integrity, that leadership quality and calmness under pressure, right? So all these are the qualities that they are actually looking for. And, when it comes to crisis, it can range from natural disasters and public health emergencies to civil unrest and law and order breakdowns. It could be anything, right? So they generally ask you anything because it is expected that you can either go to IAS or IPS or anything. Now, if you have given specifically IPS preference, they'll come and ask you about, civil unrest and law and order breakdowns, protest and other things. As a civil servant, you will often be called upon to manage these situations and ensure that the resources are deployed effectively, decisions are made quickly, and the public is kept also informed very well. And in my interviews and in many of my friends' interviews, this questions related to this was asked how I will lead in various crisis situations. And it's very important to demonstrate that you can remain calm under pressure, prioritize the task. So you are in a very crisis situation where saving the human life, if at all required, is the priority. And then there are certain other priority, and lead your team effectively. So there are certain skills that you need to show. They are looking for not an answer from here. From the answer, they are looking for the skills. Okay, so that they are looking for you as a future civil servant. So let's get into the details of it, and I'll go quickly because we have already done the session. So there is no time, no need to spend 45 minutes time in the session. Rather, I'll be spending 25 minutes here, and I'll be spending more time in the Q&A and the discussions. One-to-one discussions are the discussions that we have today and later in the one-to-one discussion. So guys, we are not going to spend too much of time in today's lecture. Okay, so we'll go faster because you know all these things: decisiveness, adaptability, coordination, communication. What is not known to you? So do you want me to take a long lecture on this? Absolutely not required. Okay. So leadership in crisis situation requires specific qualities that you can see here, and that will, enable you to act quickly and effectively. And that's exactly what they're actually going to check. And these are the ones you need to demonstrate to them, whether you have it or not. It's again irrespective of, the situation, but it has to be demonstrated in front of them that you have it. Okay. So decisiveness during a crisis time, it's very important that you have that decision making skill, a decisive approach. Okay, so it's the essence that you need to show: decision making skill. Okay, a strong leader must be able to make quick, not only quick, but informed decision. Okay, and that will address the immediate needs of the situation. So that's very important. Nothing much to discuss on that. You know it already. We are traveling for a long period of time now. Now, adaptability. Crises are unpredictable situations, and circumstances can change rapidly. So effective leaders must be able to adapt to new information and adjust their strategies as the situation evolves. Okay, now coming to coordination. Crisis management often involves coordinating multiple teams, including various government agencies, emergency services, community organization. So a good leader ensures that all stakeholders are working together towards a common goal. Clear communication, very much required. Transparent and effective communication is essential in a crisis. So leaders must ensure that their team understand their role and responsibilities, and they must keep the public informed to prevent panic among them. So any question that you're getting related to any crisis situation, make sure that your answer will demonstrate these qualities from your side. You are a proper coordinator. You can prioritize the task. You can communicate well. You can lead the team. You can take decisions, informed decision, right? So these are the things that you need to communicate. So for example, I'll give you an example. These are the examples which we have discussed before. Make sure that your answer contain all these: decisiveness, adaptability, coordination, and communication part. Okay. So let's say if you're asked how you will lead a team during flood, I'm creating a situation. I'll give you more, okay, in the coming sessions. See, you can say the 4 dimensions. I hope you're clear. You can say, as a leader in a crisis situation, my first priority would be to make quick decision about rescue operations and resource allocation. That's the decisiveness part. Then I would then adapt my strategy based on new information, such as changes in weather patterns or flood levels. That's adaptability part. And then coordination between emergency services, local authorities, and community organizations would be essential to ensure a smooth response. Coordination part. Finally, I would ensure that the public is kept informed about evacuation plans and available resources to prevent panic. Communication part. Okay, now coming to law enforcement. If you got a specific question on IPS related or law enforcement, you can say leadership, in crisis situation might involve maintaining public order during protest or riots. So they will ask you related to that, how you're going to, maintain public during a protest or riot. We already discussed this in many situations. You will be talking about, you will always try to de-escalate the situation, tension, and you will always go for, this is something which is there in your answer, proportional use of force only for the purpose of de-escalation of the situation. Talking to the leaders, protest leaders, acknowledging and respecting their right for peaceful protest. All these things are there. For instance, if you are an IPS officer and they are giving you questions in that situation, you would make quick decision to deploy the force, what kind of force need to be required, the discipline of the force, the action that the force need to be done, adapt your strategy based on the behavior of the crowd, use of force which is in proportion to de-escalate the tension, and communicate clearly with your team, also with the public. Are you going to directly communicate with the public? Sometimes it is required. Sometimes you will handle it with the protest leaders. So we are going to see more into this. Guys, again, structuring the answer. We have seen many different types of structures. So here in this situation, first, assess the situation, prioritize action, coordinate resources, and then, communicate clearly. So these are the 4 dimensions which you need to reflect in your answer. Whenever you answer the questions related to leadership in crisis situation, it's very important to demonstrate that you can stay focused. You are very calm in that situation. You are very organized and effective decision you can make under pressure. So what the framework you can follow? This framework is simple. As is a situation, start by assessing the scope of the crisis. What are the immediate risks? What resources do you have at your disposal? Understanding the situation is a first step in effective crisis management. So when you assess a situation and explain to them, they understood that you are, you can understand the situation. Now you also setting the context for your rest of the answer, where you already have a structure that is going to demonstrate the skills that they are looking for from your side. Okay, so that's the advantage there. Now coming to prioritizing the actions. See, once you assess the situation, prioritize the action that need to be taken. In most crises, what is an important requirement? Saving lives and protecting public safety are the 2 top priorities. So always consider that, followed by ensuring that the resources are distributed effectively, efficiently, and other things are there. Coordinate resources. Effective crisis management requires coordinating resources between different teams. Whether it's government agencies, NGOs, or local authorities, you must ensure that everyone is working together efficiently and effectively with proper coordination. And who are the one who's going to coordinate? It's you who are the one who's going to coordinate. Because I'm going faster because these are things we already covered, and this is a kind of revision and reinforcing things in your mind. and also reinforcing the confidence in your mind. So that's why this aggressive tone now, which is coming compared to the previous tone. Okay. So now communicate clearly. Transparent communication. Make it like coming with absolute integrity. Okay. So that's transparent communication. Even if you see crisis, transparent communication, don't hide anything. That's the key. Sometimes you may need to hide certain things, but you'll make sure that things are transparent. When you're answering also, you're using the words transparent means it conveys certain message. Okay, so ensure that your team knows their roles and responsibilities and keep the public informed about the steps that are going to be taken and to manage the crisis. So this will prevent the panic situation among the public. I'll give you another example. Already we discussed about flood. Let's say you are asked how you're going to manage a natural disaster like earthquake. See, I'm taking these examples. You can the situations may change, but the answer remains the same. Assess the situation, prioritize the action, coordinate resources, communicate clearly. That's it. These are the 4 things that you need to do. Okay, so earthquake situation. Now, what I'll do, I'll give it as an answer. First, I would assess the scope of the disaster by gathering information from local authorities and emergency services. Assess the situation. And then I would prioritize actions such as evacuating people from dangerous areas and providing medical care to the injured. Right? So prioritize the action. I would then coordinate resources by working with local government agencies, NGOs, and the military to ensure that food, water, and shelter are provided to those in need. So coordinate resources. Finally, I would communicate regularly with the public to keep them informed about relief efforts and safety precautions. Can you tell this? Do you have any problem in saying this if you understood the structure which I have given to you? Because these are the questions that they're going to ask you. Once you know these are the questions that they're going to ask you, and you know the structure, and you know these are the qualities that they're looking for from your side as a future civil servant, why can't you answer in the same way? Right? Because answer is framed in mind and brain. You just convey it from the heart. That's the only thing that you need to do. Your answer is already there in your mind and the brain and framed it over there, but you reveal or you deliver from your heart, adding, required emotions based on the question. Here you cannot be emotional. Here you need to be strong because you are a leader. There are areas and situations where you need to show emotions also. Okay, in this I have discussed already. One of my interview, I was asked how I would manage public health crisis in rural area. I use the same framework to explain, that I would first assess the availability of healthcare resources. You see the potential of the structure which is given to you guys. Assess the situation, assess the availability of healthcare resources in that situation. Prioritize distributing medical supplies to the most affected area, prioritization. Coordinated with the healthcare providers and local authorities, coordination. And communicate regularly with the public to prevent panic. All you need to do is just tell them that these 4 steps, add something there. Right? You're just saying, I'll first assess dash. Then I'll prioritize dash. Then I'll coordinate dash. Then I'll communicate dash. So how about this? Is it simple? Can you fool the old people who are sitting in front of you over there? Yes or no? Right. So I repeat, I will assess dash. I'll prioritize dash. I will coordinate dash. I'll communicate dash. I'll first assess the availability of healthcare resources because healthcare is what asked. There you can add 1 or 2 points. I'll then prioritize distributing medical supplies to the most affected areas. Prioritize. I'll coordinate with healthcare providers and local authorities. Coordinate. I'll communicate regularly with the public to prevent panic. Add more if you want. Even if you don't add more, this will be fine because you have taken care of what they are looking for. What if it's in police case or law enforcement related one? Here, like managing riots or protests, handling terrorist threats, ensuring public safety, etc. They'll ask you. So when it comes to law enforcement, again, leadership during crisis situation often involves managing situations where public safety is at risk. So these are things that you need to focus on there. Very strong leadership skill you need to develop there. You need to show there. Very strong and tough. Right. And you can see when it comes to managing riots or protest, one of the biggest challenge in law enforcement is this managing riots or the protest. The tensions are high during the situation, and there is a risk of violence also involved. And the public safety is also at crisis. So as an IPS officer, you must ensure that the public order is maintained, public safety is maintained, while also protecting citizens' right to peaceful assembly. Answers already I've discussed what you will tell and other things. Coming to handling the terrorist threats. See, when it comes to the situations like terrorist threats, law enforcement officers must act very quickly to neutralize the threat while ensuring that the civilians are protected. Public safety is ensured. Again, leadership in these situations require to make quick decisions, implementing that decision, coordinating with the intelligence agencies, ensuring that the public is kept safe. Now, how to ensure public safety? Again, many crisis situations like natural disaster, which we have discussed, or civil unrest, law enforcement officers are responsible for ensuring that citizens are safe and that emergency response team can do their jobs effectively. It's your responsibility. Okay, that this involves coordination, coordinating resources and maintaining law and order and all those. For example, if you're asked how you will handle a violent protest, we discussed this many times. You can say, what you will say? Priority, right? And then public safety and all these things is what you're going to discuss. So your first priority would be to ensure public safety by developing police forces to monitor, or by deploying enough police forces to monitor the protest and prevent violence. So when you deploy enough police force, the chances of violence is getting lesser. Then I would ensure that police act with restraint and follow proper protocols to avoid escalating the situation while protecting citizens' rights. You'll make sure that you will only use minimum force or proportional force only to de-escalate the tension. And you will always acknowledge and respect the right of peaceful protest of the protesters. And in one of my interview also, I was asked how I will handle a situation where public protest was, turning violent. So what you will say? Simply, if it is asked to you, I'll give you a framework and that's exactly what you need to fit in. Same thing what we discussed so far. I explained that I will deploy the police officers strategically to prevent the violence, to escalate the violence, and ensure that the force acted with restraint, minimum use of force, proportional use of force only to de-escalate the situation, right to protest of the protesters, peaceful right, peaceful protest is acknowledged and respected. Talk to them to de-escalate the tension, to understand their problems. Engage with the protect leaders to find a peaceful solution. Okay, now coming to the general governance cases. Okay, guys, in general governance also leadership, crisis situation involved here, managing emergencies such as natural disaster, public health issues or public health crisis, infrastructure failures, etc. So here you can see that's what I've mentioned here. When it comes to natural disasters, or when you're managing a natural disaster such as a flood or earthquake, what is the priority? The priority is always to save lives, provide relief, and ensure that long-term recovery efforts are in place. Leaders must coordinate between local authorities, emergency services, and NGOs to ensure that relief efforts are carried out efficiently. Right? Now, handling public health crisis. In the event of public health crisis, such as, pandemic or disease outbreak, leadership involves ensuring that healthcare resources are distributed efficiently and effectively, and that the medical professionals are getting enough support, and that the accurate information is communicated to prevent the panic among the masses. Infrastructure failures. Coming to this, what are they? Such as power outages or dam collapse. You can get any situations, right? So we need to think about all these. All these require, again, quick decision making to prevent further damage and ensure that the resources are allocated to repair the damage. And leaders must also ensure that the public is informed about safety measures and recovery efforts and everything. Right? So these are the dimensions that you need to discuss and think if you get this kind of questions. And I'll give you an example. If you are asked a question, how you'll manage a large-scale power outage, what you can say? The first priority. What is the first priority? The first priority during a power, this is an answer which you can make it. If it is asked, reproduce the same then, if you have any problem in making your own answer. Right? The first priority during a power outage is ensuring public safety and preventing panic. You're assessing the situation, follow the same order. Assess the situation, prioritize, coordinate, communicate. Then I would coordinate with utility companies, emergency services, and local government to restore power as quickly as possible and ensure that the critical infrastructure such as hospitals remain operational. And I would also communicate regularly with the public to provide updates on restoration efforts and ensure that they're aware of safety measures. Done. So what is my point? Any question that they're asking, you just need to fit into the structure which is given. For all the types of questions we discussed, I have given you the structure, and we almost discussed around 40 situations so far. Don't remember exactly, but 7 to 10 maximum structures, which covers everything that they're looking for. Yes or no? Are you confident now? To one of my friend, they've asked a question, how he will manage a flood in a city with poor drainage infrastructure. So flood, but the city with poor drainage infrastructure. What is the main problem here? Is the flood or the problem, or the infrastructure is the problem? So he basically, answered, he'll prioritize. You answer this. You take this question. You answer this. Prioritize, assess, communicate, or coordinate, communicate. So, he basically asked something like, he will prioritize rescue operation, ensure that displaced people are provided with temporary shelters and the needs and other things. I don't want to discuss everything because we covered it so far and so many times the same thing. And work with infrastructure agencies to plan long-term drainage improvements, because that's the main problem. I'll share one of my personal experience. This is something which I've shared previously also. In one of my interviews, I was asked, how I would handle a public health crisis in rural area where medical resources are limited. I already discussed this with you anyway, but I'm still repeating in this context. I began by assessing the situation. So assess the situation, prioritize action, coordinate, and communicate. Just remember this four. Irrespective of anything that is going to be asked, you just fit into that. Okay. So I began by assessing the situation and explained that I'd first gather information from local health officials to understand the sensitivity of the outbreak and assess the availability of medical supplies first. And now I'll prioritize actions by explaining that my first step would be to ensure that medical supplies were sent to the most affected areas and that healthcare workers are supported in providing treatment. Next, I'll discuss how, I'll coordinate resources. This is a coordination part. And, explain that I would work with local authorities, NGOs, healthcare providers to mobilize additional resources and ensure that healthcare facilities were properly equipped. Finally, I emphasize the importance of clear communication. So remember, guys, what I'm talking about and what I'm trying to enforce and reinforce in your mind is the structure. If you follow the structure, you are actually delivering the content that they are looking for. Don't try to form things at that point of time. Because if that is the case, every mock interview, you keep giving different answers and you keep delivering different qualities. That's not what required. Practice one thing 100 times. So when you have 7 to 10 structures with you, practice the same. That is making it more effective and efficient. Because I want you to give your best in that 20 minutes. Your best with respect to the qualities that they're looking for, irrespective of whether you possess that qualities in real life. Irrelevant whether you are absolutely, following that, integrity, honesty, transparency, irrelevant, no use in future. And finally, this communication part. Okay, so explain that I'll regularly update the public on the steps which has been taken to manage the crisis and provide them with accurate information to prevent the panic. So now, what all things we discussed, guys? Let me tell you, leadership question, irrespective of situations, mostly crisis situation, show the toughness, calmness under pressure, decisive nature, decision-making capacity, okay, and implementation capacity, team building and team leading capacity, okay, communication, coordination qualities. This is what you need to show. So leadership in, formally, let me conclude, leadership in crisis situations require the ability to remain calm under pressure. You need to make quick decisions, coordinate resources effectively. So you need to show this quality in your answer. Whether you're managing a natural disaster or a public health emergency or a law enforcement crisis, it's very important to demonstrate that you can prioritize the task, communicate clearly, and lead your team through difficult circumstances. So guys, that's about the session. I hope you take a situation as your assignment, follow the framework, record the video, send to me, and send in the group. Okay, now I'll unmute one by one. You can raise your hands and then we can discuss the questions and we can also discuss other things that you want to. Let me stop the recording, guys. Okay.